Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of the Monday Morning Mama Show. I am so glad that you're joining us this morning. So we come to you every Monday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time for fresh and fun inspiration for every mom. And this morning is a big topic, so I had to bring a friend along with me, our first guest of 2018. Really excited to have her here, and I'm going to introduce her in just a second. So this show is really has been such a big player for me as far as reducing stress in my life and in the lives of other moms. And so this year, as I've said, we're focusing on self-care, and we can't focus on that self-care unless we talk about some of the issues around self-care, especially where you moms are concerned. And so today's topic is getting rid of guilt around self-care. How many of you, raise your hand or comment below because I can't see you. How many of you have struggled with guilt around taking care of yourself or doing nice things for yourself? I think it is really rampant in the mom community that this happens for many reasons. And as my friend Kim Zielinski and I talked about on an episode last year, we get really caught up as moms in this issue of comparisonitis and comparing ourselves to other moms and what they're doing. And so that can cause a lot of guilt as well as many other things. But I want to take a moment and introduce myself and my guest to you before we get into this topic. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jessica Dugas. I am the founder of the Moms Online Mastermind community, and I'm an intuitive mentor helping moms to reduce stress and overwhelm in their lives. My guest this morning is my friend Lucinda, my new friend Lucinda. She's my Aquarian friend Lucinda. We found out we have that in common. We both have an Aquarius sun and moon, which is super fun. Lucinda is the owner of Voice Your Power, where she provides programs that help you find your life purpose and legacy, your voice and your power, helping you to rise from silence into freedom, just to name a few things. And she's joining us all the way from South Africa. And I say this all the time. It never ceases to amaze me how cool it is that we can connect with people that far away. What an awesome time we're in to be able to do that. So welcome this morning, Lucinda. Or this afternoon.
Thank you. Yeah, it's afternoon here. It's already 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's like, you see, I actually got hold of you in the morning and you were still sleeping. So when I still all the time work out between us, there's 8 hours between us. But it's beautiful that we can Zoom and we can have this kind of virtual kind of space, which is phenomenal. I mean, it's like we are together, you know, and I love it. That's why I love technology. I think it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a love-hate relationship sometimes with technology, but I love that it can bring us together. And and it's so funny because it was totally fine when you messaged me last night. I was up with the baby, and then I heard my phone and I'm like, oh, a friend, I'm not alone now. so it was kind of nice, and then I went back to sleep, so that was cool. So you guys know I'm really big on definitions, and I think that's the homeschooling mom in me coming out, but I want to read you the definition of guilt, because sometimes when we hear a definition, it can be really powerful, and in that the word doesn't mean what we've always thought it meant, or maybe it's stronger than what we thought it meant. So I want to read that really quickly. It says, the state or fact of having committed an offense, crime, violation, or wrong, especially against moral or penal law, a feeling of responsibility or remorse for some offense, crime, or wrong, whether real or imagined. So how completely crazy is this that we are even feeling guilt at all around taking care of ourselves? Because is it a crime that we're taking care of ourselves? How do you feel about that definition, Lucinda?
Yeah, I also am big on the definitions, and I mean, guilt is an emotion, but it's a sad one. I think what is quite good a bit this time is often we get confused between shame and guilt, and they are definitely quite separate. They are, you know, at least guilt, there's a positive spin-off and a side to guilt. If it wasn't for the fact that people felt guilty at some level, there would be no law and order. and people wouldn't have standards. It would kind of be a free for all. So it has kind of given structure to the world, in that way. But it really is about what did I do? It's every time, what did I do or what didn't I do? It's that feeling, I did something bad or wrong. And I agree with you on that comparisonitis. It's big that, I think in your particular, in the mom's world, big on that comparison factor, comparing yourself to what others are doing.
Yes, absolutely. And I have an email for those of you that are on my email list. I have an email coming out this morning that talks a little bit about that guilt and that the kind of comparisonitis. And I really feel like a lot of issues we have around guilt has to do with a little bit of underlying fear of being our authentic selves. And then in that we can't be ourselves, then we're trying to be other people and we're comparing ourselves to them. And then we have the other part where we're worried about what other people think about what we're doing. And so do you see a lot of that in your work, Lucinda, where people are comparing themselves to other people, but then also worried about what other people are thinking about them?
Yeah, I mean, guilt comes up a lot in my work. Guilt and shame are the two words that kind of are the core for why people are silent, why people don't come out and voice. But I think if we go straight back to it, we pick up this whole guilt thing from a very young age. I mean, it's ingrained in us in the conditioning and needing to conform. And the biggest thing we all want is we learn from very, very young. Remember, being given sweeties if we did the right thing. So we learned from young, we didn't want to disappoint, and we learned that behavior disappoints, and that means we don't get approval. So we automatically always have tried to be good, and we've tried to fit in with the family, the friends, and the peers, and the religion, and the society. And I mean, it's so exhausting thinking how much we have adapted for this external approval. So And the biggest, I always say to people, what is the one thing that everybody wants more than anything? And you can go to anyone in this world right now. We all want to be seen. We all want to be heard. We all want to be acknowledged. And we want to be recognized. So if somebody holds that away from us, if there's a chance we might lose that, it's almost like a death within ourselves. And I think it sits so ingrained in us that this thing of guilt is sitting. And I mean, when you read that definition, I mean, no one really should be looking at that. It's not like we are convicts and we've done something to deserve this massive punishment, but we live under it. We live the whole time under this thing of all we want is love and acceptance. We work so hard and I think I was reading a lot of like mom, because I'm not a mom other than to 2 dogs and a cat, but I was reading into what, the kind of things that would drive like from a mother's perspective. And I thought, oh my word, because everything you do, you kind of start judging yourself. So it becomes like a criticism, like, is that good enough? But I see that person doing this. And it's a constant guilt about not being good enough and not doing what the Joneses are doing and not giving, and second guessing yourself. So yeah, that's my bit that I'd give on that, I
think. Yeah, and I mean, it's true that especially when we start having children, it's kind of the focus shifts there. It's like, let's talk about family for a minute. So one of the things that's really funny is, and that I've experienced myself and heard from other moms, is that they'll say to me, well, my mom doesn't remember my birthday anymore, like when they start having children. And so it's like all the grandkids, like they have the big birthday things, and it's like everyone, I don't get cards anymore. I don't get, like nobody's paying attention to me anymore. So I think that even without saying it, that expectation to forget about yourself is put out there without saying anything. And so it's really, and that's why, like in the moms group, we celebrate birthdays and we celebrate anniversaries and we celebrate all these fun things, because no one else is going to recognize that for us anymore. The focus is now on the children. And so I think as far as it's just put out there. It's put out there by everybody, whether they're saying it or not, that we're now as moms supposed to forget about ourselves and focus on the children, and that's now our job. And I think that's why so many moms forget who they are. or become different people in the process of being a mom, because they're just kind of being pushed along, if that makes sense, on their journey. Instead of doing what they want to do, everything is kind of formed around the kids. And you sent over a couple quotes to me this morning, and I wanted to read one of them because it made me feel a couple different ways. And I don't like when that happens. So it says, motherhood is a choice you make every day to put someone else's happiness and well-being ahead of your own, to teach the hard lessons, to do the right thing even when you're not sure what the right thing is, and to forgive yourself over and over again for doing everything wrong. So part of that, I really agree with. I think that forgiving yourself is important. I think because, especially with moms, we constantly feel like we're messing up, especially when the kids are having a tantrum, or, you know, they get a bad grade in school, or whatever the situation is. You know, we start to feel like, well, what did I do? You know, what could I have done differently? And we judge ourselves quite a bit. The first part, though, is exactly why I chose to start the moms group, because the first part says, motherhood is a choice you make every day to put someone else's happiness and well-being in front of your own. I think that is crap. I
agree.
Absolute crap. And it made me mad. Lucinda, why did you send that to me?
But you know, that's me. I challenge people. You know, I'm a transformational speaker. So, you know, my whole thing in life is I want to challenge people. So I'm putting that out in your group because I want reaction. Is I can tell you that the biggest thing in life is never to put anybody other than you first. That is the biggest thing, because I wrote something that I'm going to share with you, and it's because I do a lot of work around self-love and acceptance, because that's where the core lies to actually being able to heal yourself fully. And my thing was, a mother who radiates self-love and acceptance actually vaccinates her daughter against low self-esteem. And I believe in life, we have got to, in life, be looking after ourselves first and foremost. So like I wrote at the end, your tips and things that I give to people, how to get over guilt, they'll be coming up. Is part of that is every day you spend time looking after yourself. Self-care, those things are vital, because we can only be the greatest we can when we overflowing. If we depleted, and this is how you're explaining it, is so many people are living out a role, and they believe to be a mother, I must be like this, and I must do that, and I've got to fit into all this thing, but you lose yourself in the process because you're so busy being, and like you were saying, you almost feel guilt bound, you know, and you feel bound to deliver on expectation or pleasing or keeping the peace, and I mean, that is for me what guilt is really about. Is if I think of guilt is a whole thing about no matter what, and I think as women it's a huge thing for us. We would rather sacrifice ourselves and our own peace and sanity in order to keep the peace, and we kind of have always been that nurturing kind of the nurturing kind of side of life. We've always been taught to, you know, mop up and do the right thing and hold the peace and please, and you know, our voice comes second. You know, I grew up in a family where only the males had a voice. You know, the females in my year when I grew up, a woman, we were second rate. You know, if a boy was born, it was celebration. A girl was born, it was like, oh no, it's a girl. You know, it's kind of not as worthwhile. So I think we've also generationally taken that also, you know, we've also adopted that into ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, so many amazing points you made there. I don't even know where to start. So yeah, so it's really interesting what you're talking about generational too, because I often talk about my grandmother on the show, who I grew up most of my childhood with, and she was a little bit of a pioneer about self-care. I feel like she owned a beauty salon, and you know, really made it her joy to help women feel good about themselves, and anyone who came in her shop feel good about themselves. And then as she got older and sold the shop and everything else, and she was at home, I used to watch her do a morning routine every single morning. And first thing that sticks with me about that was that I knew the importance of that to her. I knew that was something she did every day and that was important to her well-being. And so I didn't interrupt her because I knew that that was important to her. So a lot of moms, I always say, make sure your kids know that this time is important to you. Maybe when they're babies, they're not going to get it, or toddlers when they need your attention every 5 seconds. But as they get older, they're going to continue to recognize that time's important to mommy, and I'm going to let her have that because she's a better mommy when she gets that time.
Yeah.
And so that was a big thing. I didn't interrupt her because I knew it was important to her. And she did it every day. Every day was the same process. She would, she read the Bible in the morning, and she had her, she did an exercise, and she had prayer time where she had a whole list in her Bible of people that she was praying for, and just had this whole like good 30 minutes or so every single day without fail. And so that's another thing that sticks with me is that, that importance of making it a routine. And then the other thing is that my self-care routine looks completely different than that, my self-care time. So that's such a huge part of this guilt issue that we have, is that recognizing that your self-care looks nothing like anybody else's. Stop getting so caught up in, well, they're doing something different than me. I have friends here who will go away for whole weekends, like having girls' weekends, like 4 days or so. And that completely gets my anxiety through the roof, because with 6 kids at home and young ones that need me, the first thing that comes to my mind is that, oh, that is not any kind of self-care for me. But I felt guilty about it at first. I thought, why am I not taking, 4 days to go off with my girlfriends? But it's okay that it doesn't look like that for me. It's okay that that's not where I'm comfortable. So really, it's important for moms, I think, to let go of what it looks like for everybody else and stay right here when it comes to your self-care. Just do what makes you feel good. So if someone's feeling really guilty about the self-care, what are some steps that you feel like we can start to take to get out of that space of guilt?
Yeah, I would, the first thing is I think something that came up when I was doing some of this reflection is stop focusing on the quantity, but focus on the quality. When we're running around like headless chickens most of our life, we get into overwhelm, and we know that Aquarian air-headed kind of state of being.
Yes, we do.
For me, the first thing is to put aside whatever that is for you. If it's prayer, if it means a quiet time, if it means journal writing, if it means meditating, I climb into the tree every day. That's my way of doing it. Very definitely start gratitude and appreciation work, but not even journal. Really start doing that work. Is when you've got to find the self-value, you've got to find the self-worth. You need to get into self-love and acceptance. These are all the things why you do believe that you need the time, that you need to invest in yourself. Self-investment is so big. Like, with the coaching world, I used to always say, oh, I didn't need to invest in other people, whatever. And then I realized how important it was to invest in yourself. And I kind of have because a board game that I created once, every single day I invest in myself physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And I'm very, very big on making sure that every single day, and I don't have a book for it, but every day I ask myself, have you read something inspiring? Have you done something emotionally to lift yourself? Have you done something on a spiritual level, connection, and physically, to make sure that you are doing something, even if a simple plank or some yoga exercises on a mat doesn't take very long to do. But that's a starting point that I would get people to is, and stop looking outside yourself. You're not responsible for anybody. I know we're responsible. I mean, we're responsible for children and we're responsible for animals. We are. We really are. But there's a certain level where, and I mean, I'm lucky I'm not a real mother, meaning a mother I don't think I would have made it. I'm honest. I think I would have solely, absolutely, I mean, I'm so responsible that I think, I mean, if something had happened to a child, say now I was somewhere and a child was up a tree and the child fell off the tree, I don't think I'd ever forgive myself. You know, so I mean, I'm that kind of personality where I'm hyper alert to those around me. I don't want to hurt or harm or affect anybody in a negative way. So all my respect to all of you that do it. And remember that you're human, and we are born to be real, not to be perfect. These are the kind of things that I implement in my life. And you know, every single day, look at your people pleasing, you know, and as I said to you, that balance is key. You know, that thing I did earlier, I spoke about making sure every day invest in yourself. Those are kind of things that I would look at. But I mean, I do mirror work with clients, you know, which is very big, and in that one opt-in that I've put through, I think your group as well. It's very important to get to a point where I always say you fall in love with yourself, because when you get to that point, you've got no problem in self-care. You don't have everything you do, you believe. What you eat, you ask yourself, is this good for me or not? What I'm reading, if I'm sitting in front of television, is this the best place I can be? You know, and everything you do. So I think that's kind of a starting base point that I kind of take people through.
I think that's so important with loving yourself first. And it's really interesting because I've got, you know, the page that we're broadcasting on now, and then I have a private group, and then I have my membership. And as I was coming into this year, I was really thinking about, you know, the journey that moms need to take in order to be able to fully, you know, step into a space where they're not completely losing their minds all the time. And the very first part, and what I really focus on the mom page, is loving yourself. What do you love about yourself? What do you, you know, and like you said, falling in love with yourself, I think is so, so important. And that's something that you know, I've talked about in other things before. When I was in an abusive marriage and I left that marriage, you know, the first thing I did was like jump to self-care. I was like, oh, I've got time now. I'm going to go get a massage. I'm going to get my nails done. I'm going to, all this superficial stuff, because I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing. I thought that's how I was going to take care of myself, but I still didn't love one bit of myself. And so, you know, as good as a massage feels, that quickly fades away, you know, right after, or, and so I had to go back to basics. I had to go back to basics of learning to love myself, and then understanding the importance of self-care, then implementing that self-care, and then saying, well, now that I'm caring for myself, I don't have as much work to do when it comes to getting rid of stress, because I'm pretty, you know, laid back now. I'm not as, you know, caught up in everything that could be going wrong, or worried so much what everybody else was thinking. And the people pleasing you talk about is that's a big deal too, because especially once you're a mom, everybody's going to tell you that you should be doing something a different way. Every single person, your family, your friends, strangers in Walmart, they're going to tell you, especially here, they're going to tell you that you're doing something the wrong way. And so you really have to get, again, when it comes to self-care and everything else in your mom life, you have to do what works for you and worry so much less about pleasing other people and what they think. So little things for as far as getting rid of guilt for me. I love using EFT, or the emotional freedom technique, or tapping. If you're really feeling stuck, I think that's a great technique to use. And also being sure that you reach out to someone like Lucinda, like myself. If you're feeling stuck, you're not, you're noticing that you're not taking that time for yourself, or you're feeling guilty about it, it is important to ask for help, and to find people that do support you, and and a supportive community as well. Lucinda, you mentioned doing a board game. Can you tell us for a second about that? What is the board game about?
It's actually up on the wall here. Yeah, I called it Moving It Up. I'm actually trying to get it to the States, but I don't have the financial whatever to send it to you. If I courier to the States to you is 1,300 Rand. How's that for a game of 500 grams? So,
oh my gosh.
The game is, it's such a cool game because that's what I did. I decided that I needed to challenge, inspire, uplift people because I saw that this whole technology age, people were not interacting and engaging. So what I did is I created the game, and I actually wanted to put it on like a messenger thing that every day I send people a task to do, like the game gives you. So it's involved. The blocks are red, green, blue, and yellow. And red is about uplift, feel good. The green is coordination, balance, because I'm very big on people being coordinated and balanced in life. Like I did the Feldenkrais technique, which is many moons ago, which is if you give people doing habitual things in a non-habitual way, then you open up new neural circuitry. So I bring that quite a bit into the game. And then the blue is physical tasks, like I make people do burpees or make them do the plank or I make them do bicycle riding or whatever. And then the yellow is a mental task because I want to wake up people from doing everything in a robotic form. So I mix it up and I make you think out the box and laterally. And the game is really about expanding people and getting them to engage and interact. And some of the things are so foolish, but I want to get people to laugh. And it's a lot of multitasking as well in the game. So yeah, I created that board game. It's quite popular with the pre-primary. I don't know what you call it in the States, but like that age group about 5, 6, 7, very, very popular in that kind of age group for families and kids. So it was just something that you reminded me when I was doing this now, that game was just something that I developed to try and get people into the mindset, because my biggest gripe when I was dating, I've stopped trying to date now in my life, but in the days that I was trying to date, I could never cope with, the biggest complaint was when I met somebody, it was the first question, are you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, are you fit? And I had this checkbox, and if I met you and you didn't, you weren't, like for me, you were sloppy, or I felt that you were neglecting a part of your life, that I just realized we weren't going to fit. And the funniest irony of it all is, I think in all the relationships, when I went back to it, not one person even ticked one box. And that for me was my biggest. When I eventually aborted the dating scene, it was completely because of that board game kind of philosophy that I just felt. And that's why it's part of my daily ritual. You'll see, if you ask me every day, Lucinda, what have you done today on a whatever level, I can tell you what I've done. You know, what did I do? But I will not go to bed unless my 4 boxes are ticked neatly every single day, because I think I'm very big on prosperity and finding joy, and that's part of my work is as deep and as serious as it is. My main thing is I want you to find that artery of joy. I want you to find that power. I want you to find and tap into that. Because when you can live from a space of complete appreciation and gratitude and joy, then no matter what bumps and what storms come over your life, you always are anchored in something really deep. So, you know, that is kind of part of who I am. The game is just part of, it's kind of ingrained in my makeup, I guess. Yeah.
I love that. And I think I've got to get my hands on it now, because I think it's so important, as I've mentioned, to set your children up for success as far as caring for themselves as well. Don't hide the fact that you're doing it, because then they're going to grow up thinking that, you know, that they don't need to do it. It's important for us to show our children to do it. And I love all the different aspects of your game, because I always talk about that with making it a holistic approach. It should be physical. It's not just about any one thing. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. It's the whole picture. And I love that, a balanced approach. Who knew that 2 airy Aquarians could be so balanced? For sure. And so really, such a pleasure connecting with you today. And I love that we finished the show with you talking about joy, because joy is my word for 2018. And Even though I consider myself to be fairly joyful the majority of the time, I really wanted to push myself and try to find that joy in every single circumstance, and to live it, not just experience it every now and then, to truly live in that space. And so it has been a joy being with you this morning or this afternoon, and getting to talk about this topic, because it's a big one. It's a big one for sure, whether you're a mom or not. We've got to take care of ourselves and be unapologetic about it, I feel like. And so if people want to connect with you, Lucinda, why don't you take a moment and tell them where they can do that?
Yeah, my website is just, as we were talking now, my website finally has been relaunched with my correct stuff now. So that is lucindaharmon.com. So that's my name. And then I've also got, hey, if you want to check the Moving It Up game, it's movingitupgame.com. It's if you want to check the game out, that's still there. It's a business page. And then my Voice Your Power is, I've got my group, and then I've also got my business page, Voice Your Power. And then my Instagram, but that has underscores between the voice, your, and the power. But I've kept it pretty uniform. On my own Facebook page, I tend to challenge people a little bit more. I kind of make it a little bit more diverse, and I look for reaction. I love it when somebody, I had a thing the other day, someone said to me, they're getting so much negative flack, one of the women groups, and they're getting so much negativity. I go, I'm always waiting for the negativity. And I mean, I'm so controversial. I can be really controversial, and I'm always waiting for someone to say something. And I'm always disappointed that every day I post that I don't get any flack. But it really is helping people to rise, and it really is about helping people to transform for their greatest. And my work is really done, from a space of absolute heart. That's the one thing in the whole process that I really, really tapped into is to come at all times from that space of joy and heart, really importantly. So that's how they find me, on those groups, on those pages.
Very good. And I've got Lucinda's website already in the description of the video that is live right now. And I will go back and add her other links as well, so that you can it's so easy to just click and go, I think. And so I'll go back and add those as well. So thank you so much for being here this morning. And Lucinda will be back a couple times throughout this year, and I'm excited to dig into some more good topics with her. I love all the topics this year. I'm so excited. And if self-care is something that you need to step more into, if self-love is something you need to step more into, if you need to reduce stress and overwhelm in your life and truly find that joy in being a mom and being a woman and being a human being, then join us in the Moms Online Mastermind. You can find out more information at www.momclub.online. And until next week, this has been Jessica Dugas, helping to reduce stress in the world, one mom at a time. And we'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody.